That family came to the club late that night and was just out front wailing. That hurts to hear. I think it's sinking into everybody that this is reality, and that we're not going to see these folks again. So it's hard. It's hard on a personal level. It's hard to see it for the kids who don't have the same coping mechanisms as adults. So I don't know when it will get easier. I mean, I'm old enough to know things get easier over time, but when that will be, we don't know.
What about Max? Has anyone been in contact with him?
I have not been in contact with Max. Max traveled to D.C. with his close circle of friends and with Junhan, Gina's dad. So I know he is having support while he's there. I don't know personally how he's doing as of yet.
Can you tell us a word about Spencer and like all of them? Personal note.
My personal note is for such young kids, they had a huge impact here. And not everybody gets to do that at the age of 13 and 16. So to have these young teenagers, by any measure, leave an organization of 1,100 folks with the impact of their loss, I think is a testament to them. It's genuine feelings of loss for the individuals as opposed to feelings about the tragedy, right? They're sort of separate things. And I'm so sad that they won't be back, but I'm so impressed that they made such an impact in such a short amount of time of their lives.
What does the club and the community need for closure? What kind of answers are they looking for?
I don't want to get involved in the politics or the resolution of who did what or who didn't do what. You know, there's a lot of attention on resolution that way. I don't think that's necessarily our job or what we're here to do. There was an accident. We don't really know yet how it came about. There's a lot of speculation. I know President Trump has his own ideas. I think that's his job to get us down to what happened, so I appreciate that. I think for our folks here, at least in the immediate future, it's dealing with the loss. And then there'll be plenty of time to have it come through the news what actually happened. And how do we make sure this doesn't happen again?
And what steps will you take toward healing?
Well, we've started with get-togethers here at the club for the members across the decades to come together. That's been incredibly rewarding to see. I grew up at the club in the 70s, and for me to have friends coming back from the 70s and the 80s to be part of this says a lot about our community and how far it extends over time and even space. I think we take it one day at a time. We're talking about how to properly acknowledge this team, this national development team of coaches, skaters, and these two wonderful moms. I think we'll find a good way to do it, and then we'll most likely have a celebration of life, and I would think a naming ceremony here at the club for one of our rinks or rooms or spaces to make sure, and with their stories told on one of the walls. If you walk around our facility, there's a lot of folks here who are remembered through the years, either in photos on our history wall or specific spaces that they chose to donate and name. And I think, you know, I'm certainly in favor of that. I think our board of directors is in favor of that to make sure this family joins the pantheon of greats in this club and their legacy.
It's a very close-knit community.
It is.
And the impact is even, I don't know, harder when it's that close. Tell me about, like, how do you feel about that, the impact that will have in this community?
Well, I knew we were a tight community. I didn't actually realize just how tight a community this is, but also how broad a community this is. The letters and emails and texts and phone calls of support from around the world makes you pause and think, because we come here every day and we're doing our job. We're running a facility, we're providing ice for these kids to skate and train, and there's support mechanisms for that, and we're just doing what we do. And then to find out that other folks from around the world are acknowledging it and respecting it and want to share in the grief on that is it's incredibly heartwarming, I have to say. I know we're a globally recognized training center, but I didn't think our community necessarily extended globally. And I think there's a difference there. Folks come here to train, they come here to compete at the different events we host, But for them to feel in their hearts our loss is very comforting.
Tell me more about the coaches, Yevgenia and her husband. What was their role here?
I've said this before, Vadim and Genya were coaches I personally picked. They were in Connecticut at a training center. I convinced them to move here. One of the best decisions I ever made. One of the successes I'm most proud of. They're developmental coaches. They took skaters from the ground up, first steps on the ice, taught them the proper technique that they learned in St. Petersburg, and brought them up to be champions, Team USA members. And they were really hitting a new stage in their success. That has been snuffed out. They were also friends. I'm going to miss their friendship. I'm going to miss the professionalism and identity that they brought to this facility. I think they were role models for the other coaches. I've said before that I couldn't walk into any of our rinks where they were training without them coming over, thanking me, shaking my hand, acknowledging what the club did for them and their skaters. They don't have to do that on a daily basis, but they did. Very, very generous souls.
You're
How
glad
are
to see
they
skaters back
different?
on the ice today?
I am glad to see the skaters back on the ice. I think I said yesterday, I thought it was a fitting tribute that our performance center had no skaters on it. That's where Spencer and Gina trained the most and their coaches. So I thought that was fitting that the rink should be dark for the day. But it is really good to see the skaters come back. I think it shows you this sport and its athletes are incredibly resilient. We say that all the time. But what they do is so hard, right? I like to joke the ice is slippery, but they need to go out there and they need to perform these difficult technical elements. They need to make it look easy and graceful and smile like they're enjoying it. It's hard work for them to do that. So to see them come back and know that their love of the sport is going to carry them through, it's heartening.
Talk a little bit about the 1961 incident, how Bill talked about it, and how this time really plan on transparency and openness. Talk about how you expect that to not only preserve the legacy of the folks that you've lost, but also help folks move forward.
I hope it will. As I said before, I knew what I grew up with in the late 60s and early 70s. I called it the great, terrible, awful that nobody would talk about. You just felt this dark cloud. Having had that experience, I don't want that experience to happen to our young kids today. And I think we as a society have changed. And I think talking about things is healthy, encouraging folks to grieve and to process in their own way, providing them tools and folks that can help them with that, letting them know, repeatedly that there's no shame in asking for help, that we all need help through things like this. And it's my sincere hope we'll be successful and that this won't linger, that the kids' memories and the coaches' memories will be with all of us forever, but that the trauma won't linger. That's my hope.
What are the skaters telling you about how they are coping with this, how they are grieving for their friends?
I haven't had the opportunity to talk to too many skaters. Just given my position at the club, I can be scary to a lot of the younger kids, so I try not to scare them. But with some of the older athletes, they are processing with their friends and skating and getting back out on the ice.
I was thinking about like the humane side of the coaches because of course their technique was amazing.
Yes.
To build the skaters from the ground up. As you were saying, tell me about the humane side.
That's the best part because you wouldn't expect these coaches to be so kind and fun-loving because their standards were so high. They held a bar, and that bar was appropriate at every age level.